On this week's episode, I'm joined by Ana Pimentel. Ana is a Portuguese journalist and the author of the incredibly popular book, Portuguese Unicorns. We discuss, amongst other things, journalism in Portugal, what a unicorn actually is, why we have so many in Portugal, and why we can expect more. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, The Simple Life. And I'm really excited to be joined here by Ana Pimentel. Ana, welcome, and thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Dylan. It's a pleasure to be here talking with you. Sure.
Did I say the surname correctly? Pimentel? Is it the right?
Pimentel. Yes, it's okay. Pimentel. Yes.
Almost like pepper.
Yes, it's
Almost.
close. It's close.
Exactly.
Yes.
Ana, why don't you just start off by telling us a little bit about you?
Well, what can I say? I'm Ana. I'm 36 years old. I'm from Feira de Foz. It's a really beautiful city near the sea. So everyone who is hearing us, if they want to go surfing or to go and visit a nice beach near the center of Portugal, Figueira da Foz is a noun that they should consider. And I live in Lisbon. I came here to study communication. I started working as a journalist 13 years ago. I ended my career as a journalist this summer, so it's really quite fresh this time of my life. And I don't know, I'm the author of a book. I know that's why we are here speaking. And I don't know what you want me to say more, Dylan. Tell me.
Well, okay, there's a few things there. First of all, you are an author of an amazing book, and we're going to talk about that soon. First of all, I mean, it's so funny in Portugal and interesting. People never seem to have just one terra or one hometown. We've got this traveling in our DNA or something here in Portugal, where where people have a connection with multiple villages or multiple places, which I think is just so fascinating. But maybe start off telling us a bit about your hometown of Figueira de Foz. What's special about? I know it's got a beautiful beach. I've been there once or twice. I had a really good fish lunch once on the beach. I went to this place. It was right near the beach, and it was a fish restaurant. And I at that time I didn't eat a lot of fish, and I asked for steak, and the guy said to me, "No, we don't do that here. We don't." And I said, "But it's on the menu." He said, "No, we don't do that here. You got to eat fish." So it was great, and I'm glad I did because I enjoyed the fish. But I mean, tell us about your village. Tell us about growing up there, your memories, and what's special.
Yes, well, first I can tell you a little bit about that thing that you said about we Portuguese people always seem to have a lot of connections to different villages or cities, and it's interesting because here in Lisbon, you meet a lot of people, but maybe in 10, only one is really from Lisbon, because the other 9, they actually can be like myself. They just came here to study or to work, and they just stayed here. Sometimes their parents did the same. So the father is from the north of the Portugal and the mother is from the south, and they came when they were young, and they met and they stayed here. So it's interesting because it's a really melting pot of different places in Portugal. So I'm from Figueira, as I told, and it's a beautiful city. It has a beautiful beach. I mean, it has a lot of different beaches. So usually the main one is the biggest one. But if you have some time and you go to the other margin of the river, we have the Mondego River there. And you have beautiful little beaches there also. That's
Mondego River is the one that goes through Coimbra, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, cool. You have there also some beaches that are a little bit smaller, and they are good for sports, sea sports like surf and bodyboard. And I don't know if you practice any of these stuffs, but if you do, you must go there. And people are great. People are nice. You hit very well in Figueira da Foz. That's true. And one of my it's so nice because when I remember my times in Figueira when I was a teenager or a young adult, and when I was a child, I just wanted to play. But then when I started having my friends and going out with them and going to the beach, going to the nightlife, Figueira in the summer as a really good nightlife. So I have great memories of those summers that never ended. 3 months summer that never ended. So if you are there, you must go also and have an ice cream at Imanha. I don't know if you went
Imanha?
there, but yes, you must go there. And you have a lot of restaurants where you can have good fish. I don't know if you have ever tasted a dish that it's called maçada de peixe.
Yes.
Did you like it?
Yes.
Yeah. So there, it's a really known dish.
It's famous. They're famous for this dish.
Yes.
Okay.
Caldeirada also. Did you know it?
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. It's impossible not to know these things after being in Portugal for 12 years. I got away with it. I got away with only eating meat for maybe about 2 years. And then eventually people said, no, Dylan, you have to stop this now. We eat fish and we have good fish. And they were right. So yeah, it is important. I love what you said, that you eat very well in Figueira da Foz. I hear people say this about almost every part of the country, except for maybe people don't say it particularly about Lisbon, about Porto, and about the Algarve, but every other region, district, province in Portugal, people say you eat really well there. Tejo, Alentejo, the West, everything.
Yes.
Yeah, we love our food.
Like when you are in Lisbon, when you are in Porto, you actually have a lot of different meals from all the regions, from these people that went to the city and took the usual meals they used to do at home. So it's like a mix of all of these different meals.
Very good. And what do you like about Lisbon? Which part of Lisbon? Don't give us your address. We don't want anybody arriving here after the podcast outside your doorstep. But which part of Lisbon are you in, and what do you enjoy about Lisbon?
Oh, so many things. I love my hometown, but when I was a teenager, I also fell in love with Lisbon. I really love the light. And when I was a teenager, what I really liked was this idea of getting lost. Because I was from a small town and everyone knows, and that kind of attracted me. The thing that, I can go on the streets and nobody knows me. So that kind of, you are lonely in a place crowded. And I was really interested about that sensation.
Being anonymous.
Yes. But I love the history. I love also the light, the beautiful light of Lisbon. I think we don't have this light in any other place. I love the people. I love the fado. So many things. It's interesting because here in Lisbon, people aren't that nice as in my hometown. It's a bigger city, so. If you are in Figueira or in another small city in Portugal, when you go anywhere, you enter the place and you say good afternoon, good morning, and you talk to the people. Here in Lisbon, we don't have that kind of relationship with strangers. And in the beginning, I was fascinated by Lisbon. I wanted to come here. I want to go to Lisbon. I must go. But when I arrived, that also touched me because I was I was familiar with that feeling of going into the bus or going into the supermarket and be familiar with people. And here, no, people are not like that. But it has other things that I like. And it's true that you may not have like a typical food here, but you have a lot of diversity, so you can find food from everywhere, and that is good. You can also, there's the other thing that I like, it's that if you want to make a discovery or to to have something new, a new experience, taste a new play taste, a new, I don't know. You have always this kind of new things happening. So every day can be a surprise. Just if you want to go out, you have always an option that you haven't known yet, and it will be a discovery for you. And I also like that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah, there's always something new to discover in Lisbon.
Yes.
And I love what you said. I think we've had a few people talk about, everybody's spoken about the light, and still no one can tell me why, so this is the part that one day we have to do I need a journalist's help here to discover what happens here with this light of Lisbon. But yeah, people have spoken about as well, how there's always a surprise and a little, you can get lost in Lisbon and still explore and go down little streets and discover things that you didn't know were there. And that's really amazing. Yeah, that's still this day and age, with all of the exposure Lisbon's got, you can still find surprises. That's amazing. How did you get into journalism? Curiosity is a very much a Portuguese thing. It's very much part of the Portuguese DNA, but how did you get into that career?
Well, Ian, I think it's part of my DNA also, not only because I'm Portuguese, but because I'm me. Well, I decided that I wanted to be a journalist while I was a teenager, while I was before high school. And I started writing poems when I was a little girl. I was like 9 years old, and I read a lot. I really enjoyed books. So as you can see here on my back, and I was fascinated by this world where people they imagine stories and they publish stories and they write, and they have all these things in their heads or in their heart, in their feelings, and then they put it into words. And when other people is reading it, they feel close, they feel that they aren't alone, and they feel like there's a connection with that writer, with that character. If it's poetry, if it's fiction, we don't know. But while I was growing, and I really liked writing, and I said, well, what can I do with this? And then I started noticing that journalists, I started buying newspapers. And, okay. So here I have two things. I can write as a way of living, and I can tell other people's stories, and I'm actually having an impact on the world. So I'm helping people to be informed. I'm helping people to be inspired. I'm helping people to have access to things that are happening in the country or in the world that it's important for them to know. And I was a teenager, so I was like, and you are really involved on causes, and I really like that mission of public service. So it was two things that I really liked. So I can have an impact on the world, and I can write, and I read a lot also. So this is what I want. So I was like, I don't know, maybe 13 or something when I decided that I wanted to be a journalist, and I started studying for that. It's interesting because I never thought that I would write about tech business and startups and going to economic newspapers and economic sections of media. But that's the way things evolve. But it was this. I wanted to write. I wanted to tell other people's stories, and I wanted to make some change in the world. So that's how I ended in being a journalist.
Okay, amazing. One of the things that I've heard about from journalists and people involved in that sector is often there's not a lot of things to report about in our own country, so we have to report on things that are happening in the world. That can be a good thing and a bad thing. But maybe, Anna, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, and maybe it's an incorrect observation, but when you compare like sort of our journalism here in Portugal to journalism in the States, journalism in the UK, a lot of that is become so sort of politically affiliated. You have Fox News that's affiliated to one type of political party, and you see that in the UK as well with the Sun or the Daily Mail and these things. Whereas I find here that it seems to be still quite pure in the sense that it's journalism for journalism, not with an angle, not with a and it still seems to be quite a pure and raw form of communication. Is that? Would you? I mean, what would you say about that?
Well, I think that I understand what you are saying, because yes, if you go to the United States or if you go to the United Kingdom, you have clearly publications that they say publicly who they hope that win the election, for instance, or who they are supporting, and that happens in Portugal. It's not our tradition. I think that people can say, like, if you go to someone in the street and you ask, so this newspaper, what do you think that it's their ideological party or politics? What, and they can tell, oh, this is a left newspaper, this is a right newspaper, but that's not like publicly known or publicly official by the media. I don't know if that makes us more pure or raw, as you were saying. I believe that's the way things are, and maybe they are changing, maybe they are not. I also believe that, like when you have so many social media and also so many fake news and misinformation, there's so much to work on the part of the social communication, like on the part of the journalism and on the trust that people should have in the media that they are consuming, because I believe that we are all suffering from this fear of trusting in the news. I don't know what will happen in the future, how will the publications be, but I believe that they should somehow build a strong way to fight these things that are threatening the profession and the credibility of the media. And well, I don't know if in Portugal things will change in that way that you are saying, but if you go on the streets, as I was telling you, if you go in the streets and if you ask someone like a natural reader that doesn't work in journalism and is just used to buy the newspaper, maybe he or she has an opinion about maybe because she knows who writes there and how the opinions are written. But no, it's not like you are saying in the United States and the United Kingdom. And that, to be sure, I believe that we are facing so many challenges in the journalism right now, not only in Portugal but in the world, that are so big. I think that we need a real transformation on a lot of things on the sector.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the word trust, because that's something that I think that's maybe one of the things as well that I've noticed is there is still a trust in the news. Like I'm not being lied to. There's generally what I'm being told is the truth. I think we saw it a lot with COVID, and it's a lot of reasons that people say Portugal handled the COVID situation quite well is because Portuguese people generally trusted the news that they were being told and the instructions that they were being given. So I think that's important. But we are here to talk about your book and a really, really fascinating subject, Portuguese unicorns. I told my daughter, she's 10, that we're doing a story about Portuguese unicorns for the podcast. And she said, we have unicorns in Portugal. And I had to explain to her what a unicorn is. But yeah, for people listening who don't know what a unicorn is, first of all, Anna, tell us what a unicorn is.
Okay, so Unicorn is a 1 billion startup. Okay, so it's a startup that it's evaluated on more than $1 billion. And in Portuguese, it's interesting because we say billion, but then in Portuguese, we say mil milhões de dólares, because billion is trillion. When we say billion, is trillion in English. So that's interesting. But
okay, hold on. Well, so billion in Portuguese is trillion in English.
So no, exactly. When you say trillion, like $1 trillion company, it's a $1 billion company. And when you say $1 billion company, we say mil milhões de dólares.
100,000 million. Yes, or 100 million. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Anyway, carry on. So you wrote this book, Portuguese Unicorns, about all of the unicorns in Portugal. Business is valuated at $1 billion.
Yes. $1 billion. And, well, usually
Almost.
these companies are technology companies. It's like part of the DNA. That's why they have these evaluations. That's why they close so much million in the series of rounds of capital that they usually close with investors, international investors. So, well, this is a unicorn. A unicorn that is a company that has a business that is evaluated at $1 billion. And here in Portugal, my book aims to tell the story of how the phenomenon of unicorns, it's not only in Portugal, they are all over the world, started in 2013 and how it evaluated until now, until 2021, because when the term occurred in the United States for the first time, it was just to describe these companies that were private and that were tech companies, tech startups, and that had this kind of business model, and they have this product, and they have this aim to change an industry or something in the world, and they were getting these even higher evaluations. And so they were kind of unique. They were a rare thing because, in startups, every day there are lots of startups that are born, and the stats say that in 10, 9 fail. So when you have one startup that has a $1 billion evaluation, it's really awesome. So the term was born on this way. So these are the unicorn startups because they are like kind of magic, and this is the
a magical creature.
Yes, a magical creature. So in 2015, we had the first company launched by a Portuguese man. It's José Neves. He's the founder and CEO of Farfetch. That was our first unicorn. And Farfetch has its headquarters in London because José Neves is living there for a really long time, but he's from Porto. He's from the north of Portugal, and he started. He had two different companies before Farfetch, but they were there in Porto. And actually, Farfetch was built with Portuguese talent and with Portuguese technology. It's all done here in Portugal, and it kept growing until in 2015. José Neves made like highlights in Financial Times with this little startup founded by a Portuguese that was worth $1 billion.
Yeah,
and
he's supposed to be the youngest billionaire or something like that in the world right now, or something, isn't it?
José Neves?
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know.
I read something somewhere.
I don't. Okay. Maybe I should check, but
I should be careful what I read. We just spoke about that. So yeah.
Yes.
And okay, so that was the first one. How many in Portugal do we have now to date?
5. So we have 5 unicorns with connections to Portugal. Okay. Connections, when I say connections, is they are founded by Portuguese, and they have people and offices here in Portugal. Because, as you know, Farfetch, as I said, has its headquarters in London, and the other 3 have in the United States, and only Feira as its really headquarters in Portugal. Okay. So, they are 5 unicorns founded by Portuguese people with Portuguese talent, with Portuguese technology. And it's really good because, we are such a small country and we have 5 startups worth more than $1 billion. So it's
amazing.
Really
we have more than Spain.
Yes.
And we love beating Spain. We love beating Spain. All right, just take us through those unicorns. So you mentioned Feedzai and Farfetch. Who are the others?
So the first, I'll say it like in the
chronologically.
Order, okay?
Perfect.
Yes. Yeah. So Farfetch was the first one in 2015, and then only on 2018.
Sorry, Anna, can you just tell us just briefly what each of those guys do?
Yes.
Just a little overview of what each company does. That'll be helpful.
Yes. Well, so Farfetch operates on the luxury fashion industry. Okay, they started as an online platform to buy to buy fashion, luxury fashion. Okay, so high with high prices and from designers, and now they have a lot more business. So it's bigger, and they are doing other stuff. But that's the main thing that they are known for. And also, Farfetch is the only Portuguese company that it's in the New York Stock Exchange. So it's in Wall Street, and it's there since 2018 when they did the IPO. So they are now a public company. And they are in the US market, so it's huge also. Then in 2018 we had two more. It's OutSystems and Talkdesk. It's interesting because they all operate in different fields. They are all technology companies, but they all operate in different fields. So you have Farfetch that connects technology to fashion and luxury. Okay. Then you have OutSystems, and OutSystems, they made the technology of low code. Okay. So they develop the way of doing changes in software with low code, more easily, more flexible, more adaptable. And it's a really interesting story, but because, OutSystems has 20 years, and they reached the status of being a unicorn in 2018, 17 years later from the day that they were born. And this happened because they were for several years with this technology and creating this technology that wasn't really fitting the market, because they were ahead of their times. Only when the smartphones the smartphones appeared and the digital mobile economy started really booming, they had the chance to prove that their technology was the perfect fit, because companies were in need of changing all the softwares that they had really quick, to be in touch with the customers, to be flexible, to be adaptable to the needs of the clients and of the customers, and they needed a faster way of changing things on software. And OutSystems developed the technology that can do that. Talkdesk operates in a very different areas also, because they started as a company that wanted to be able to help little companies to have a contact center in 5 minutes. Okay, so they help people in business to have a contact center really quick installed, and now they have artificial intelligence and machine learning helping on their technology, and they are evolving. So this is how they started. And then Fidzai operates in cybercrime and in finance. So they prevent the risk of getting frauds on the digital finance, and their clients are the banks, the really big finance institutions. So they are a fintech. So they operate in another different field. And then Remote, it's the last one. Remote is really young. They launched in 2019, and they started as a company that wanted to build a platform to remote work and to help people and organizations to hire and manage their human resources on distance, remote situations. And then we had the pandemic. So they were born with this solution really before the whole world went to remote work, and they have this huge wheel of the customers all over the world, and they really grew really fast since then.
Wow. Okay. Incredible. Funny to hear about these companies. They were all sort of ahead of their time, and
yes.
Wow, but 17 years to wait for that is patience. That's patience. Yes, and hard work. Patient. Incredible.
Yes, Paulo Rosado once told me that they were 12 years ahead of his time. That when he launched, now he knows, but back then he didn't. Now he looks back and it's, well, when we had this idea, we were 12 years ahead of our time.
12 years
and
too early.
we didn't give up. We believed in the idea. We believed this makes sense. And
so at that time, he didn't know that they were too early. He just was.
No, he didn't.
With an idea.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yes.
Incredible. What did you have to do? I mean, just tell us about you obviously had to go in and speak to people and research and tell us about the process of researching for this book.
Well, I had to read a lot, because usually news, and I wanted to. I've been working as a startup journalist for more than 10 years. So in my life as a journalist, I was reading a lot about this. And in Portugal, I had the luck to start my career as a journalist when the startup scene was really also starting in Lisbon. So like we were in 2010, and the first incubator, the Startup Lisboa, was born in the next year. BTI, that it was the first entrepreneurial association, and it has the first acceleration program for Lisbon. It was also really, really young. It was launched on that time too, and the term startup was starting to be heard in some events and in some universities on the economics or leadership degrees, but it wasn't like nobody knew what a startup was. And I started working on these fields on that time. So I kind of grow while the ecosystem was also growing, and I was reading a lot of these. I had to read a lot of international magazines, newspapers, publications, because in Portugal everything was new. Like, what was venture capital? I didn't know. But like in US and in the UK, everyone knew what was venture capital, and it was a startup. So I've had all this background. So it's like more than 10 years of being on this, learning with this in these subjects, reading books, reading international publications, talking to people, interviewing a lot of people, and that was huge. Okay, that was a huge information that I had. And then about these specific unicorns, I've had a chance to speak with CEOs and with founders several times through the years. Okay, because in this time of working as a journalist, I had a chance to interview like José Neves a couple of, I don't know, maybe 4, 5, 6 times. I don't know how much were them. Paulo Rosado, also I had a chance to speak with him, with Nuno Sebastião. So, and I had the chance to speak with a lot of investors that were in Portugal sometimes, or other people that were connected to this reality for all of these years. And when I had this idea, well, first of all, I wanted to read a book about unicorns, because I believe, well, someone must have written a book that tells the story of the unicorns international. And I didn't find one that was really what I wanted to read. And so maybe I should write one. Maybe I should write this book. And that's how the idea was born. And then I started gathering a lot of information from the beginning, like from the financial crisis, from everything that happened in the world ecosystem since 2013. Then I started doing my contacts to do the interviews for this book. And then I started doing also that kind of investigation, like reading a lot of interviews that also these leaders did to other journalists. I was compiling. And then when I had a lot of information on my side, I said, well, so now I have to write this book, and now I have all the things that I need. And then in the middle, we all had the pandemic. I started writing this book in 2019. It was supposed to be published in 2020. And, pandemic started, all the publishing put their projects in standby. I also was working as a journalist and as an editor on a big media. So I didn't have the time to be working on the book. But then on the end of 2020, I had a conversation with my publisher, and I said, look, unicorns are getting bigger. There's more money on the market. That is happening outside, and that is happening inside Portugal too. So I believe that we really should publish this book next year, because next year it will be huge. And it was because in 2021 we had two more unicorns in the middle of a pandemic, and that proved that it was a subject that it was even hotter, that it was even more on the radar.
Incredible. Okay. There's more unicorns coming.
They say so. I believe they are. They are coming more.
Quick thing. Let's give a quick shout out to Ricardo Marval, because he was the one that put you and I in touch. He's written the foreword for your book. Ricardo's also been on the podcast previously. Yeah. Okay. So people need to go back and hear more from Ricardo, but he was instrumental at the beginning of the startup scene in Portugal with Beta E and with Startup Lisbon and the accelerators. What an amazing guy. Yeah. I like it.
It's awesome. True. I know Ricardo since I don't know, maybe 10 years or more. And he has been, he knows a lot about this subject. So that's the thing. When I started working as a journalist in this field, we didn't have like senior journalists or senior editors covering startups. My generation of journalists were the first ones dealing with this reality. So we had to be like, also a little bit of entrepreneurs, because we needed to learn, but we didn't have that colleague in the newsroom. Hey, explain me what is this round, or how this happens. Or we didn't have that. So we had I had the help of knowing and meeting people that were really into the field and that had the chance to explain me a lot of things. And Ricardo was one of them. Yeah, he is incredible.
Yeah, great guy. So Ricardo, thank you if you're listening. I mean, you mentioned two things about these companies. You mentioned Portuguese tech and Portuguese talent that were so key in these things. I mean, what do you think, in sort of that has in the Portuguese DNA or Portuguese denominators that made these companies succeed, and is possibly the reason why we're going to see more unicorns coming in the future?
Well, everyone in the market says that we really have good universities, and when we form people in science and in tech in our universities, they are really good. Okay, that's like common sense. We have good talent, and I don't know. I don't know if it's a cultural thing or not, but I believe that we really work hard and we commit to things. And like we know when one thing, well, it's obvious. Obviously, we are making like a generalization. So every person is a person and every case is a case. But generally speaking, I believe that when we are committed to something and we want something to really work, we work hard. We don't stop until we find how we can solve that problem.
In this interview, alone, we've got two examples of that. We've got OutSystems 17 years and Anna Pimentel 10 years to get this book out. So we work hard at making those things come to light. What else?
Yes. Well, I also believe that one thing that really helps, and I explained that a little bit in my book. When we had 2008, Lehman Brothers, the collapse, and then all the economies and the banks were collapsing all over the world, and Portugal went in a big, big, big crisis. Okay. And there was a lot of unemployment. And I am a person that started working on this crisis, and all my generation started working with a huge fear of not having a chance in the labor market. So we were afraid maybe we don't have a place in the market. Maybe what will we do? And I believe that in those times, like 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, people started doing things on their own. I don't have a job, but I've studied. I don't have nothing to lose. I just have a computer. I have my friends and I have time. So let's do things. Let's test. And I believe that a lot of people also go abroad in those years. They went to other countries to work. And I also believe that we have like an open mind, and we are watching what's happening in other countries, and we are seeing examples of people that are doing their startups and their business. And I believe that it was really natural, it wasn't because someone said, look, you should start being entrepreneurs. No, I believe that in those days and in those times, those difficult times, lots of young people, and not only young people, maybe people that were working and that they just lost their job. And well, I have nothing to lose, so I'll just try this thing. And then, you see when people do, then it's like the rest of the things. You see when people doing, and then, okay, I have a friend that did that. Oh, you have a friend. I have a friend. Well, maybe I should do that also. And I believe that the spirit of the thing that promoted so much startups, and that with the good talent that we have, the tech talent that we have, and with the all good things that happen in Lisbon, it started to put international eyes on, wait, what's happening here? What's happening here? Then in 2015, Web Summit said that they were moving to Portugal, to Lisbon. That was a huge thing for the ecosystem also, because that put a lot of international eyes on Lisbon. So what's happening there? Why is this tech conference, an Irish tech conference? Why are they going to Lisbon? And in a small step, we are here today. I don't know if this answered your question, but
yeah,
I believe that was a mix of all of these things.
It does. I do think it is I will say as an adopted Portuguese. Okay, so I don't have to be unbiased because I'm not a journalist, but Portuguese people do work really hard. And the misconcept, the concept of or I suppose the reputation that sometimes people have about Portuguese, that they don't work hard and that they're lazy, is incredibly incorrect, because in my experience, Portuguese people work really, really hard. But Anna, I mean, for you doing this research and discovering the stories behind these businesses and the sweat and tears and time that's gone into building these things, because as people looking at the tech world, it's a bit of a mysterious sort of world, and we don't know what seed funding is, and we don't know, a lot of people don't know about these terminologies and how it all works. And it seems like these things appear from fresh air, but we know that they don't. And it takes a lot of hard work and stress, and people mortgage their homes to make these businesses work. But what were some of the things that you learned? It might be a strange question, but just bear with me. What were some of the things you learned about Portuguese people from doing the research and learning more about these businesses?
Well, you said the first thing, work hard. Okay. Because I have like this profile of being a little bit workaholic. Now I'm trying to not to be, because that's not also the way I want to live forever. But, when you are a journalist and when you went in the newsroom, it's usual. People really work hard and people are stressed, and that's DNA of the profession, right? But while I was interviewing these people, speaking with these people, they are even worse, maybe, because they are really committed to this. So you've said the first thing, it's work really hard and be committed to what they want, and try in a lot of ways. I've learned so many things while writing this book and while working as a journalist. We are, Portuguese people in general, a little bit afraid of change. It's true. And all these stories are stories of change. People that quit their jobs, their stable jobs, to launch a company that they didn't know it would succeed or not. They knew that probably it could not be successful, but they did it. They wanted to try. They wanted to take risks, and they wanted to try to do things differently from the other people around. And that was really inspiring for me too, because I was seeing these stories of change, these stories of believing, and I was, okay, so this seems really good, but what's the other side of this? And in my career as a journalist, I always tried to speak with these entrepreneurs about their failures, about the mistakes they were doing, about their mental health. And I'm really glad I had a chance to have this conversation with all of them because I was able to understand that it was really hard. It seems like, oh, I have $1 billion company, and well, I quit my job one day. I decided to launch this startup. I invited 2 or 3 people to join me, and then it was all roses and hearts and unicorns everywhere. It's not like that. And one of my main goals with this book was really to tell people how hard it was, how many mistakes were done, and all the fears. Because when you are hiring people, and some of them speak about that, when you are hiring people and you are not sure if that company will, in the end of the year, it will be successful. You don't know, because you are trying. You don't have eaten the break even. You don't know if you will have money to pay all those salaries, and all those families are depending on you. And this is a lot of pressure to deal with. And I had a chance to speak with them about all this, with the Portuguese unicorn leaders, but also with other entrepreneurs in my career. And that was really good for me even as a journalist. I wanted people know this. Look, let's talk about the problems. Let's talk about the failures. Let's talk about the mistakes. It's important for people that are reading this story, or hearing this story, or seeing this story, to know that this is possible, and that they can also have like a startup or launch their business. It may be a business in any field, but you have to work hard. It's important to know that not everything will go as you plan, and you have to be flexible, and you have to adapt yourself to the circumstances. So also for me as a person, there was something that I learned, and that contributed for my life. It was this that you were asking, right?
Yeah, it was good. Perfect. Mm-hmm. And I mean, what makes you proud to be Portuguese? What makes you proud of Portugal?
Oh, so many things. I like the way we feel things. I like the way we feel things. I think we are not superficial. We feel things deeply. When we laugh deeply, and when we cry deeply. Like I don't like football, for instance. I don't like football. I have my my team, but I don't go to the stadium. I don't see the matches. But it's really incredible that when we have a victory, everyone has a victory. Even when people, I'm saying football because it's like the perfect example of everything. I don't see it, but if Portugal wins, I'm really happy. And if Portugal loses, I'm really sad. And I think that the way we feel things, it's really expressed on our culture, on our books, on our writers, on our songs. And if you hear a Portuguese song, and if you read a Portuguese book, a fiction book, a poetry book, you feel this deepness of our feelings. And I believe that that's really beautiful. I believe that we have this like melancholia, or this, I don't know if nostalgia, I don't know what it is, but we have it. And I don't see it in other countries. maybe there is. I don't know how. I don't know a lot of them. I just know a few. But I think that's something that we have and that's unique and that I'm really proud. It's the way we feel things.
I love that. Thank you. That's beautiful. Just one thing that you want people to remember and take away from our conversation.
Well, so just one thing that's not easy.
For a journalist.
For a journalist. Well,
just try.
No, but well, if you are interested in coming to Portugal, for instance, to launch your startup or to be an entrepreneur, or if you want to have a higher Portuguese talent, you're really welcome because, as you can see for my book and for everything that we speak here in the podcast, it's a really good place to innovate and to be entrepreneur. If you want to have a unicorn, maybe you should buy my book. That's the part of self-promotion a little bit. And I believe that this last idea that I told you, it's also really important that if you come to Portugal or if you want to visit Portugal or if you are considering living in Portugal, be aware that we feel things deeply and that's nice, that's good for in the good moments and in the bad moments. And we are really, we have a good heart and a open heart for everyone that wants to come here.
I love it. I love it. I do want you to self-promote. So how can people find you online and follow your work, get hold of your book for our Portuguese speaking audience? How can they get your book? You have a podcast as well. So just here's your chance. Tell us how people can follow you online.
Okay. People can follow me on my LinkedIn. It's really easy. Ana Pimentel. They also can find me on Twitter, but I'm not that active. My book is published in the Portuguese market, and it's really easy to find on the bookshops everywhere, but also online. So if you want, you can go to Lay Online or Ook online or Fnac online, Bertrand online. So there are several bookshops online where you can find the book. And I also have a podcast. It's true. It's called Podcast dos Unicórnios because it's connected to the book. It's like a small podcast of 5 episodes just regarding some subjects that are not included on the book, but that I thought that made sense. We have already 2 on the air. One is about the leadership during the pandemic, and the other one is about mental health of the leaders. So it's really that I'm a suspect, but I believe that there are 2 really interesting conversations. And until 7th of December, we'll launch the other 3, one for a week. And they can find it on YouTube and on the platforms podcasts.
Okay, we're going to put links in the show notes so that everybody can get in touch and follow and buy and listen, all of the above. Anna, thank you. A question that we ask all of our guests: Portugal, the simple life. Why?
Why? Because it's simple to be a Portuguese. You just have to be yourself and to be pure on what you are feeling and on what you are communicating, and that is simple, and that's a simple life.
Perfect. That was a wonderful answer. Thank you. I've loved this conversation. Good luck with the book. Good luck with the podcast. And I look forward to more books from Ana Pimentel as well.
I hope so.
It's the plan. It's a plan. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm sure the one who should be saying thank you for the invitation, Dylan. It's really wonderful to be here.
You're very welcome. And for now, I'm going to let you call it.
That's a wrap.
So thank you once again to Anna, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And as we say in Portugal, força. Welcome to the simple life.